Lazy in my chair. I'm lazy in my chair.
I'm so lazy in my chair.
You know that's making it on the podcast.
Well, that's not recorded yet.
Mine is.
Man. Oh.
Welcome to the Honest Jam Songwriting Podcast, where two friends cultivate a new song.
Good one.
Yeah, callback, as they say in the business. Where two friends write and record a new song based on a prompt every week. I'm Eyal.
I'm Walker.
And today we have with us my bud, really great songwriter, really great singer, guitarist,
You're being generous.
drummer, saxophone player. Synthesize wizard. I don't know.
Yeah.
Everything. Kelli Schaefer.
Hi.
Hi. Thanks for being
How
here.
is everybody?
Great.
Good,
Yeah,
really
yeah.
good.
How are you?
I'm great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear your song.
I'm feeling
Yeah.
excited to hear your guys' songs.
I know. We're just going to have to temper that excitement and talk about boring things. We usually like to start it by just talking about how songwriting kind of came into your life, where you first kind of got the inspiration to do it.
I think generally songwriting started when I got a hand-me-down guitar from my mom. Kind of
How old were you?
classic story. 12 or 13 maybe.
Okay.
It was her classical guitar, which I actually played on this recording. I still play it quite a bit.
Nice.
But, before that, I grew up in church, so it was a lot of weekly singing, big crowds of people, and probably learning how to sing harmonies by singing every week.
But you weren't encouraged in that environment to be making your own stuff? Or
Did church encourage me to be my individual self? No. Not necessarily.
Oh, that's surprising.
Yeah. But it was, I was surrounded by music. My mom played music. I fell asleep under the piano. We had is it upright piano? Is that what you call it? Yeah. One of those in the, in the family room. So.
Yeah.
I think I was just kind of always singing tunes and singing songs and making up songs about things. And
Do you remember the first song you wrote?
no.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I do have a memory of probably, I guess the song that I remember the earliest was...
Do you remember what the motivation was, kind of the reason you felt
I was
called?
doing some deep soul searching at the age of 11 or 12, probably. Yeah. I think a lot of it was definitely around religion and wondering and about God and all of those things.
Yeah.
I think I was just playing music in the bedroom at that time. And then, I think as I got older, and it had some interest, other friends with interest in music too. I think we did start doing some recording when I was in high school, but I didn't share much of my music with my family. I think it just kind of felt like opening your journal to your mom or something when you're 12 is probably no 12-year-old does.
Yeah.
But how did your writing then develop? Did you have a motivation to write things in order to present them to the people that you were playing music with, or you had a community of people that you were interested in talking to, or was it just I need to make this thing?
I think it was definitely an I need to make this thing that probably transitioned into desperately needing people to think I'm awesome. No, I'm just kidding.
Did it work?
It did for a little while, until they found out who the real me was. No, I think at the time, maybe, high school and beyond, I think, music was just a way that I communicated with the people that I loved and my chosen family. And and then when I moved to Portland, it kind of just exploded into a much larger thing for me.
By playing like out in public?
Yeah, but also playing more in a community of people, you know, playing music together with kind of no intention of like making records and trying to be successful. And and then that kind of started right like shortly after that, like really kind of wanting to make records and put a band together and tour and kind of do that whole thing.
Yeah. Like, is making demos, that kind of thing, been a part of your process for a while, or is that?
Well, I think I'd used to just take like this, just a real kind of skeleton of an idea, and then just like I had just a bunch of songs that weren't really, they made it to like 60%, and then brought it to my buddy Drew, who produced that record, which I think was like 2011, and just didn't really have a whole lot of experience in getting the songs past 60%. And so kind of came together with him, and then we just started basically kind of recording the skeleton of the song and building it from there, and kind of relying a little bit more on the production side of it to kind of help finish the songs. Which with this last record, you know, I did a little bit less of that and tried to get them a little bit further on my own. And then this time around, I'm really trying to get them somewhere between like, you know, 85 and 90% before I bring them to the group. And I'd really like to just have them 99% before we start recording. But the demo, I use recording to kind of help get them there. So if that answers your question, I do a lot of recording and a lot of layering and different ideas. And
do the lyrics come first for you? Because your lyrics are really powerful.
Oh, thanks. That's just another one of those things I don't really have one way of doing it. I think I just don't really have one way of doing anything in my life, which I would like to change because it's helpful for building confidence and having a routine. But I think but it is, you know, I think there's probably like 3 or 4 different ways that end up being like kind of the more general kind of like the go-tos.
Yeah. For me, having different ways of doing the songwriting process is actually really helpful for, I mean, it leaves everything open because I don't know exactly like what the first step might be, but it also means that anything can be the first step. Like I don't have to have a specific thing starting it, you know? So
I think the hardest part is when you do start somewhere and then that kind of starts rolling and then you get stuck and then you have to make the decision if you're going to go back, start over, or if you're going to pick up where you left off and just really kind of try to woodshed it until something works out. So that's the like decision point where I think a lot of people get stuck, and I definitely get stuck, but I've been able to kind of push through that more than I have in the past to really try to like stick with an idea and kind of just take it all the way before realizing I need to kind of give up. But sometimes I can push through that now, which is great.
Yeah. Part of the reason I believe in the musical process as something that's like very accessible to everybody else, I think comes from like a little bit of background in music therapy and then like some background in just like making art as a person, where it feels like the process like mirrors a lot of things like internally also for me. So it's like you can hit this point of like resistance when you're creating something where you're like, do I like this? Is this something that I want to like move forward with? Do I need to like tweak it, or do I need to like lean into this thing, or do I need to just like abandon this thing and like go on to something else? And I feel like that's like the constant battle of being a human.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like playing in bands, especially the particular groups that I'm in, have really matured working with each other in that initially someone would have an idea and someone else, instead of just trying the idea out and everyone, you know, setting it out there in the air for everyone to hear and seeing if it works, you instantly kind of shoot it down in your head and go, no, why don't we try this instead? And I just learned over time that it's easier to just try the thing, carry it through to its conclusion, and then the evidence will be there whether you like it or not, than it is to second guess those ideas.
Yeah.
And that's something we've developed, committing to just trying an idea, because you might come back to the demo later and really like it.
Have you ever had it though when you're playing
Mature.
with a band and you can tell what people's opinions are of an idea, and then you're like, okay, let's just try the ideas, and then like the way the person plays it, you're like, well, you didn't really try the idea hard enough.
Oh, they're like just passive aggressively like playing it poorly.
Yeah, they're trying to shoot it down.
Well, that's better than just saying like, no, that sounds like Soundgarden or something, which would have been the Point Juncture Washington way. Like, yeah, we're into 90s music, obviously, but like you don't need to bring in descriptions of the ideas.
You write in that way more than I have in my life. I've never
in
really
a group setting.
I don't think I've ever like started a song from nothing and written with 5 other people.
I don't think I have done that either.
Yeah.
What's that like?
I like it, but generally the lyrics have not been a group effort.
Right.
You know, generally I would bring in lyrics and a basic chord progression. And then from there, it's anything goes with like the style, the tempo, the instrumentation, adding bridges, anything like that. So, you know, it used to be a lot harder when I would bring, you know, set my precious little baby there of a song on the chopping block and have someone, and even as recently as the last Point Juncture recording we did, I wrote lyrics and brought them in that I liked. And every third line of mine got voted out. It was like, we like lines 1 and 2. Line 3 gets a little crazy, so let's get rid of that one. And now when we hear the finished product of the song, and I think it's the best lyrics that were cut, in my opinion, but I'm going to save them and use them for something else. But when I listen to the song, it just sounds blank and empty right there. So I guess I haven't fully come to terms with some of those situations. But, you know, emotionally, I'm happy to make that concession and let something go. If somebody else is not really digging it and I'm like, kind of, it's cool, but whatever. Like, I feel like I have access to a flow of ideas all the time. And that's developed over time, just the more experience I get as a songwriter and a musician. So each individual idea is not as precious. You know, it's like, okay, you don't like that? What do you think about this? And then wow them with something else.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that I think I'm starting to really understand why collaboration is difficult for me. And I think it has to do with being in a room full of people and simultaneously trying to come up with an idea. I just think like my brain doesn't work like that. And so I'll come up with really great ideas when I'm by myself in a room with a computer, with my guitar, because I can work at my own pace, which is like pretty slow. It's not just that it's slow, but I think it's different. And then when I'm in a room with people, it's like if I do have an idea, I'm afraid that people don't have the patience to like sit with me while I work it out. Or there's just too much stimulus happening. And I'm thinking about, you know, the lights and somebody's clicking their foot on the floor, and, you know, somebody's like working out a guitar part while I'm trying to think of the bass part, and it's too much.
Right.
But then sometimes I wonder if people think that I'm like cheating or something.
What do you mean?
Like I just go off and like,
and
then write something because they're like, well, in band practice, Kelli can't come up with a single idea at all. Like, what's happening there?
Yeah.
Well, it's hardly cheating if you're bringing a fully formed idea to
I know,
the
like
table.
maybe like I have a ghostwriter or something.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have a hard enough time like in group conversation, you know, where it's like, to have then I be throwing ideas out there for judgment in that way, where it's like, which one of these is the best? Yeah, that's. I feel like Oogie's right out there.
Should we let Oogie in?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've heard her a few times.
Welcome to the podcast, Oogs. You want to come in?
She wants to stretch halfway through.
All right, that's new.
So cute.
Okay, she's probably gonna keep meowing.
Right.
Will she meow if she's being pet?
No, that'll quiet her down.
What was I about to say?
You're just saying that a similar thing happens to you in conversation.
Yeah, well, it's just as difficult, or it's difficult enough in that context, that dynamic. And there's also what you're saying, like the pace of things, like sometimes there's so much pressure to just come up with an idea when you're in a group of people, and I can come up with an idea, but it might not be like my best idea, you know? So it's like I can scribble on this canvas with you, but I'm not necessarily going to come up with like as exciting of a thing as I might. But then it's also like, I'm sure there's a lot of benefits of just doing it together like that, where you get influenced by another person in a way that you wouldn't get influenced, you know, in the same way as when you do it by yourself.
And sometimes other people have better ideas than
That's
you.
true.
It doesn't happen very often. No, I think that's why I do write songs, is because I need to sit and think about what I'm going to say. You know, I think that's why people choose writing as a profession too. Like you could sit down and take an idea and just sit with it for a long time, try different things. You know, I might sit on a lyric for years before it comes into a song and goes out into the world, you know? So I think that's, yeah. So
Right.
collaboration is just, it's hard, but I'm really wanting to do more of it because I think it will open up a whole nother world.
Yeah. Sometimes it's also helpful, like, yeah, your music project is called Kelli Schaefer. So it's like, that's going to need to kind of like resonate with you full on. Whereas if like you had a side project where you did this other thing, you know, maybe that's like a way into that, you know, like collaboration or something like that, where just that's what I found with the podcast, where it's like my ego doesn't have to be attached to these songs in the same way as it's attached to, you know, like songs I write for my band or whatever, because it's representative of me in a different way. This is representative more of kind of like the entire breadth of like what I do musically, or even just like things that I'm interested in, just like exploring for that day, versus like, you know, this is a representation of like a deep idea that I'm like trying to put out into the world or whatever. So yeah. Well, I would love to start getting into the songs. I feel like we have a lot to talk about with the songs. But beforehand, we have a little thing that we do, and it goes like this.
What does the internet say on the topic of the day? And if it's wrong, you can let us know by using the internet too.
By the way, has anyone emailed us any corrections thus far?
No corrections thus far.
Email?
Yeah.
All right.
But you know, the internet's
I can't wait till we get enough listeners to where the squeaky wheel will start emailing
Well,
us.
if you got it off the internet, then they'll probably get the same.
right.
Right.
Unless they're experts.
I got my fax this week from a website called Crazy Critters Inc. So
Wait, .org? .edu?
.com. It was
Deep dive.
legit.
Crazy
No,
Critters
it's actually
Inc.
a
.edu.
place that finds forever homes for exotic animals that have been.
But they had an article on plants.
But they had an article on plants.
A different kingdom.
Yeah, they're diverse that
That's
way.
what they're called, right?
Yes. But I because of the name of the website, I did check all of these on the larger internet. So Botanical is such a wide
I know.
theme. There's just so much going on there. So I figured I would just find 5 facts about trees.
Oh, yeah.
And I skipped biology class when I was homeschooled. So maybe some of this stuff blows my mind a little more than other folks. But
I love trees.
aren't they great?
Tree facts. Tree facts. Okay, one,
You
two,
better.
let's together.
Oh, yeah.
1, 2, 3. Tree facts. That was a weird harmony. Okay, one more time. I'm gonna pick a different note.
I'm going to pick a different note.
Okay.
Wait, 5 tree facts.
5 facts about trees.
Okay.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
5
facts about trees. This is so fun.
Microphones are pretty cool.
So here we go. The first tree fact is that trees are the longest living organisms on Earth.
Amazing.
Which is just kind of mind-blowing. The oldest recorded living tree on record is a great bristlecone pine, believed to have a lifespan of over 5,000 years.
Damn.
And it's located in the White Mountains of California. This unnamed tree is considered the oldest living tree in the world.
Because it's like in a hidden location or something, right? They don't let people know where all that stuff is.
That's right. The location of the tallest tree in the world, Hyperion, is a closely guarded secret. I mean, it's known that it's in the redwoods in California, but it's not known. Only a handful of scientists know the exact location of the tree. It could be because in 2012, the fifth oldest tree in the world, the Senator, was burned down by a meth addict.
Oh.
Or because in 1973, the world's most isolated tree was hit and destroyed by a drunk driver despite being 250 miles from any other living tree.
Wait, sorry. How
Yeah,
does a
no.
gigantic tree get destroyed by a drunk driver?
I don't know. It was the 70s.
Oh wait, no,
Things were
not gigantic,
crazy.
right? This is the most isolated.
Yes.
Oh,
Which I guess is the furthest distance from another tree. Is that what they're
I guess so.
measuring? Uh-huh.
Wait, that was 2.
tree facts.
Okay, and now on to the third. Oak trees
Dangerous precedent.
Oak trees are struck by lightning more than any other tree.
Oh, do we know why?
Trees are frequent conductors of lightning to the ground. Since sap is a poor conductor, its electrical resistance causes it to be heated explosively into steam, which blows off the bark outside the lightning's path.
I just got a science boner.
This next one was surprising to me. Number 4 here. The average tree is made up of 99% dead cells.
Oh, interesting.
The only living parts are the leaves, root tips, and phloem, which is a thin layer of underbark that acts as a food delivery system.
Does that mean that trees are kind of like fingernails?
I think so.
Or like hair.
Yeah.
All right, and the last and cutest tree fact, I would say, is that a bonsai orange tree will actually produce tiny oranges.
Oh my god.
Whoa, do they taste good though?
I don't know. I
Is that
didn't
what a
read-
kumquat is?
I don't think so.
I think they're even smaller.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to that, just to that mental image,
Yeah.
If I have a tough time this week at any
Yeah.
point, I'm just going to think about those tiny oranges.
Little tiny oranges.
All
Sounds like a
right,
good time.
well, that was...
Tree facts! That was a little too loud.
That was really loud. Well, I found a couple of things. I started trying to look about music and plants and stuff like that. And there's definitely a lot of stuff out there about people studying the relationship of music, like playing music to plants in order to see if it affects like how they grow, that kind of thing. It was hard to parse like what was science and what was like, just people's hopeful attitudes or just like ideology about like everything is sentient, that kind of stuff. There were some people doing interesting things on the like hooking machines up to trees in order to measure electrical signals and then outputting those electrical signals into synthesizers and like creating music around that stuff.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. But you like, and then like doing scientific studies around those kind of things. Most of that stuff was just like the science behind it was really hard. It was hard to get any factual information. It kind of reminded me of this. There's a Calvin and Hobbes comic where he's like he goes to Hobbes and he's like, oh, I have to write this book report about bats. Do you know that one?
Mm-hmm.
And
Bats are bugs.
exactly. And he's like, what do we know about bats? Or Hobbes is like, what do we know about bats? And Calvin's like, well, bats are bugs. And then he just like writes this whole paper, based on this one premise. And then like he puts it in this really fancy, envelope thing. And that's going to be his like way to an A, is through the presentation of it. And then he like presents in front of the class and everybody yells at him that bats aren't bugs. And he doesn't even get credit for having
they're
a fancy
birds, duh.
But that's how I feel the internet is it just like people just get an idea and then they just write a whole paper or whatever, a whole website based on this premise.
Yeah.
that
You
is-
guys know I don't think bats are birds, right?
Oh, yeah, that came across.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
And then the other thing that I
They're
found,
rats of the sky.
They are.
rats are bugs.
They totally are.
There's this guy, what was his name? Mort Garson. I actually was introduced to this record through our bandmate Alan Singley, who played it to me one night driving him home. In 1976, Mort Garson wrote this record called Mother Earth's Plantasia, which it's an electronic album he made on a Moog synthesizer specifically for plants to listen to. And for a while, it was only like nobody knew about it because it was only sold in this it was only available to people who bought a houseplant from a store called Mother Earth, or those who purchased a Simmons mattress from a Sears outlet. Both of which came with the record. Yeah. So, and then eventually I think it got a re-release and kind of gained a little cult following. But I recommend taking a listen to that one. Plantasia. Yeah.
Well, I looked up Alan on the internet and it said coolest person on the planet.
That's what the internet said.
All right, Kelly, we're really excited to hear what you made.
Oh, we're gonna do mine first.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Do you want to do yours first?
Sure.
Okay. Well.
What did you make this week? What did you make this week? Tell us all about it. 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 Tell us all about it.
I was like, that's not my song. Like, wow, it really turned out different. I was confused.
Do you want to
about
tell us
the order.
anything about it before we listen to it? Or do you want us to just
No,
listen
I'm
to
happy
it
to.
blind?
No, I'm happy to.
Or
Just
deaf?
I need more specific question.
What is the title of your song?
Oh, yeah, the title is, I'm not sure about the pronunciation, Rhizothella gardneri or Rhizothella gardneri. I'm not totally sure, but it's like, I think it's the scientific name for also called the underground lily, but it's a lily that the whole thing literally grows underground.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
How did
Have either of you heard about
No,
this?
how did you
No.
hear about it?
I just looked it up.
Oh,
It was where this song started was in a very different place. And yeah, so I don't know if you want to hear about that too before we listen, but I kind of went through like a bunch of different topics, and then through a little bit of an internet deep dive, I ended up on a page with a bunch of rare plants and flowers that are facing extinction, and this was one of them. And it wasn't the first one that I chose. The first one that I chose was the corpse flower.
oh yeah.
And
That's big on the internet.
yeah, and I just thought it was a little bit too much hype.
Yeah.
I think. And it just didn't really kind of fit the idea of what I was going for. So I found this one and then just kind of looked it up and read about it, and I just thought it was pretty amazing. So, and that's half of the song.
Okay.
I think the title is Rhizothella gardneri and the dandelion.
Just give me a patch of dirt. Just put me in the sun. I really don't need much. I am a dandelion. I am a dandelion. You don't notice me when I am here. You won't miss me when I am gone. There is freedom in being a cog when you're 1 in a billion strong. I am a dandelion. From Alaska to Hong Kong, from Ontario to Vietnam, Papua New Guinea to Sierra Leone. I am a dandelion. I am a dandelion. give me a patch of dirt. Just put me in the sun. I really don't need much. I am a dandelion. I am a dandelion.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Personifying all these little plant people.
Well, that's what we do, right?
Yeah. Metaphor.
Yeah.
I think it's sweet that you chose dandelion to represent the ordinary, but
Mhm.
maybe overlooked. Because dandelions, I mean, I didn't know growing up that all parts of them are edible. You can make tea. They're good for
Mhm.
all kinds of medicinal purposes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, so common, yet very useful.
Right.
What is this line? The honey bush myrtle is all you need.
The underground lily doesn't photosynthesize because obviously it doesn't get any sunlight.
Right.
There's some kind of relationship with
Honey bush myrtle.
with a fungus that
Oh.
grows on the roots of the honeybush myrtle tree, which is
Ah.
also another term for melaleuca.
Mm.
So
Tea tree.
is melaleuca the same as tea tree? I
As
didn't
far as I
didn't
know.
read that, but
Okay. Maybe there's different varieties or
I
something.
think maybe there is. Yeah, we can fact check that. The concept for this ended up being I didn't come up with the second half of this until last 2 weeks ago. Me and Jeremiah bought a poster of dandelions. Just a really cute, pretty poster of dandelion flowers.
Mhm.
And I did that because I had hung out with a friend the week before, and we had this conversation about the lily and the dandelion. I don't know if you heard of this metaphor.
No.
It's essentially of course we know there's a much more than two different kinds of people, but there's like the lilies who they just need such specific care, and they're really fragile, and it's really easy to kill one in your house, or sometimes people put like an ice cube to let it melt slowly so it gets the right amount of water at the right rate, and all of these things. But they're beautiful flowers, and they're unique, and people really love them. And the dandelions can just thrive anywhere. I mean, they don't need a lot. They don't need a really specific kind of soil, or they just need a little sun and a little soil, and that's pretty much it. And they really have a ton of properties, like you were saying, that are surprising, but people don't really know that because they overlook them so easily. So there's really cool things about both of these things. But I think talking about the education system, that lilies are a lot of times like thrown into education systems where they just can't thrive.
Everybody gets the dandelion package.
Everyone gets the
Deal with
dandelion
it.
package, yeah. And it scientifically, the studies have shown that a dandelion can thrive in a scenario that's more suited for a lily. And so if we just kind of if we tailored the education system towards people who need a little bit of a different kind of more specific thing, then we could all thrive. So that was the theory. And I much as subconsciously got to writing about this underground lily.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of made the connection, like just yesterday, actually, like that I should do the second half about dandelions. So, yeah.
So which one are you?
I don't know if I want to talk about it.
So Lily.
I'm pretty sure I'm a lily. Yeah. Lilies are also poisonous to cats, I've heard.
Oh yeah.
I think.
Have you seen all the different? Yeah, they're so specific. Oh wait, no, I'm thinking orchids.
Oh,
Are you thinking orchids?
it is an orchid. It's an underground orchid.
Oh.
I've been saying lily this whole time.
That's okay. We got there, right?
Okay, so it is an underground orchid. It's not an underground lily.
Okay.
Oh man,
Cool.
yeah. Anyways, whatever. I wonder if I've just messed it up the whole time.
Not in the song. So okay, so you're like, botanical's the theme. I'm gonna do some internet research about interesting plants.
Yeah.
And then you found this orchid.
I've just been I've been in research mode because I've been doing a lot of study and writing sort of about climate change, and so I've just been like computer, just deep dive, and I've also been really interested in learning about what plants and animals are going extinct and that sort of thing. So that's kind of where I started.
Yeah.
I will say, when I got to a frustrated point, and I wanted to start over like we were talking about earlier, I did think maybe I will take this theme and just take Botanical as just smoke a ton of weed and just record whatever song comes up. Just get really, really high.
But you didn't do that.
I didn't do it. Maybe I did.
What point was it that you wanted to stop?
Well, I wrote the first half, about
the part about the orchid.
The orchid, not the lily.
Yeah.
I wrote that first half like in the first couple days, maybe even the first day. And so I wanted to make a whole song about that. Mm-hmm. But that was kind of when I got stuck. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You said you had some maybe phone demos or something like that?
I mean, I have a voice note of an idea while I was walking that I don't think has anything to do with this. Okay. Okay. What's the one?
Really
what's
making
the
you
truth
vulnerable.
thing?
Truth window.
Truth window.
Can we do that? Because this is embarrassing. And I think what happened is sometimes I'll be walking through the neighborhood. This is something that I also, you can just feel free to stop me because I will ramble on.
No, ramble as much as you want.
Something that I do is I come up with an idea, and usually like a melody kind of takes form or something. And then I will just have that really stuck in my head. And so I'll be walking around, hearing it, waking up, singing it. And that's why you were surprised that I had memorized every lyric,
yeah.
But it's usually because it's just in my head so hard.
I like to think of that. I came up with this idea a couple podcasts ago. It's like a Darwinian form of writing because it's like only the fittest things survive. So it's like I have to, because if I'm relying on my memory like that, it's like only the ideas that are like worth like surviving till the end are the ones that end up making it out there.
Makes sense.
I treat them all like orchids. Save them all.
Yeah.
Each one needs to be
Cute.
Carefully. Yeah. So this is just your rambling.
So this is something maybe I forgot about. One of the things I think I wanted to write a song maybe about from the perspective of a farmer whose crops were experiencing the effects of climate change. I don't know if whatever. This is just going to be what it is. So truth what?
Truth window.
Truth window. Here we go. I'm sure you can imagine. It's been a tough year on the farm. I'm walking down the street, and I think there's a guy maybe coming up, and so I'm like trying to get a little quieter because I'm like pretending like I'm talking on the phone. Here he comes. I'm like, go toot toot toot. Oh yeah, and I think he's getting into his car. Yeah, that's it.
The things we do.
Yeah, so that was gonna be a song I think about a farmer. So here it was an early version of this one. Yeah, so it's just like figuring out the chords, figuring out the melody. I think I do that a lot too. I probably didn't talk about that, but I don't pick chords based on anything other than where my hands just happen to go on the guitar. So I think that's probably why it takes a while too.
Do you feel like you come up with like untraditional sounding chords as a result of that?
Yeah, I mean they're usually like major and minor chords.
Okay.
It's not like, but like the shapes and stuff and kind of where they are on the guitar is more, I guess, just kind of from memory, like knowing if I go, up the neck in this area, that's usually kind of this vibe or something, you know. So I
Yeah.
just like try that, you know, with different melodies. And yeah, sometimes it ends up being like the first half of this, I think, is a pretty interesting, has some interesting chord changes. I think that's probably why that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the phrasing of the chords
Right.
is especially interesting. It's not just sort of 1, 2, 3, 4 and repeat.
Yeah.
Which I love about your songs in general is the melody, you know, guides it through, but it goes through all kinds of twists and turns
Yeah.
and chord progressions. Really
Thank
nice.
you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah, there's something about composing in that way where you just rely less on the intellectual side of things and use your ear more.
So-
And you have to just be like, does this kind of like flow in the way that I want it to? Not does this make like harmonic sense?
Totally. That explains, I think, probably 90% of my songwriting.
Yeah.
Just, you know, do what you're good at.
Well, you're good at writing songs. Anything else that's interesting to you about
Oh,
the
yeah.
process? Seemed
My
like you had some things.
husband, Jeremiah, played the guitar solo.
Oh, cute.
Yeah.
Nice.
He often is in the other room while I'm working on stuff, and sometimes maybe he can tell that I'm getting frustrated, you know. So this was
Because you're just like cursing and yelling. And,
well, I come out for a snack or something, or like to crack a beer and just like not talk, you know. But yes, I think I was getting a little frustrated. I didn't know what I was going to put at the like kind of bridge or chorus part on the second half, and so he came in and suggested putting on a guitar solo, and he hasn't picked up a guitar in like 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
So
wow.
so it was just fun. I made it fun. So
Yeah.
it makes me happy. So
do you think you're going to do anything else with this song?
I probably will. I really like some of it. I
Yeah.
think it'll turn into something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Is it
Hey,
your-
y'all, I think you're up, right?
I'm up.
Are you?
I can go. So I think this topic was so broad. I was like, what am I writing a song about? And so I just like resisted it all week. And then yesterday I was like, I guess I just got to write a song. So
That's the beauty of this podcast.
yeah.
Yeah.
Come Thursday, it's like you got to do something.
Gotta get it done.
So I just sat down at the computer and just started layering down stuff and seeing what I came up with, and kind of came up with this like initial little motif, the words seed planted, and just kind of went from there. That was kind of like my way in, and ended up writing this song that I called Seed Planet. Seed planet, 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 planet. You got what you need. Each one is a seed. Doubt and possibility, cut it and it bleeds. Soaking in the soil like when you find your people. They water you, 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 You're giving up when it isn't over. You misinterpreted the shyness for a stiff cold shoulder. Oh, you're living as if you're the center of the cosmos and everyone is circling your gravity of self-doubt. Dig it. Nobody owes you anything. Nobody owes you anything. Nobody owes you anything. But it feels good to give a shit. See?
psychedelic.
That
Seed
was
Planet.
awesome. That organ solo got me sweaty.
Yeah, definitely psych the especially like lyrically, I was just like, I'm just gonna like say some shit and not even I don't know, it's just like stream of consciousness, like not really even attempting, like more kind of focusing on whatever words came next, you know, like there was just no
It's kind of stream of consciousness when you're writing it.
no thread really.
Kelly, I feel like we both enjoyed the line, nobody owes you anything, but it feels good to give a shit.
Oh,
Yeah, it does, though.
Seems true, right? And
Yeah.
that, I liked just, I don't know, there was a couple parts where, like plant it, and then I had what was the other one? The one at the end.
They water you.
Water you.
What are
you? Yeah. Especially if you're like from Philadelphia, you know, like then they actually say water. They say water, so it's like
Oh.
Yeah.
putting on that Philadelphia accent.
Yeah.
I feel like
Bad.
Seed Planet would make a really good vintage sci-fi novel
Ooh, yeah.
cover.
Yes.
Write it. Put it in Destination
No,
Universe.
just make the cover. You don't need to write a whole book.
Yeah. I feel like you've been messing around over the last, like just since we started the podcast a lot with, you know, using your voice, but kind of having it feel like effects, you know? And I think a lot of that, I've also been pretty interested in that, and, you know, like having, like make it feel like a delay or something like that. And then at some point I was singing and I don't know, I think something was caught in my throat and it just started like affecting, like it almost gave me this kind of like vocal fry quality, but then that I really like leaned into the vocal fry and it almost caused my voice to be like an octave lower.
Awesome.
It sounded like this. What are you? 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 What are you?
Cool.
What are you? What are you? Which probably is terrible for my voice, but it's pretty fun to do into a microphone.
Yeah, that's awesome. I
Yeah.
love that.
But yeah, it was just like, you know, a lot of word salad, throwing just stuff onto the progression that I made and just seeing what would happen. I tried a little more of a like singing delivery for some of it, and just wasn't feeling it as much as just kind of like whatever the chanty vibe was. I just kind of, you know, threw a bunch of shit at the computer and saw what stuck, basically.
Yeah, I love it.
So.
It gave me kind of like a Shabazz Palaces vibe.
Oh, cool. Yeah, it's fun to, I don't know, I just always keep going back to how computers really make it so easy to, like lay out a foundation for something. Like demos just become so much easier with it because you can lay out that foundation and then just be like, all right, here, I put some stuff on it, and then I just kind of filled in the spaces with things that would just keep the momentum going in the way that I wanted to. Because that end section where the organ solo was, like, I was like, well, I don't have anything else to say. You know, I'm just like, I went through enough words and I'm like, well, the idea of the song exists, so I'm gonna try to like tap into the vibe of whatever this idea is. Like, I don't even know what the song means at all, but whatever, I just tried to like get the vibe of it and then just like create music that supported that vibe, basically. So
Yeah, you did a good job. It didn't it didn't feel like the chorus coming back in at the end, or like the tagline kind of came in at a perfect time, and organ solo was like perfect amount of time. It didn't feel like it was like top heavy at all. It felt perfect.
cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, nice beat
Yeah.
too. I like that. I like the little tambourine jangles, just real short.
Yeah.
Do you do that a lot? Do you write a lot with like making beats? And I haven't heard much of anything that you've done in this like vibe at all. So
Yeah.
it surprised me a little.
Oh, okay.
But
Cool.
in a good way.
Yeah, and I like this style of thing. It really just depends on how I'm feeling in the moment. I mean, this was like, I think it actually started because we have a show coming up with our band Air of Light, speaking of Alan, and there's a keyboard that I play in that band that belongs to somebody else, so I'm like borrowing it right now. So I'm like,
ramming it.
I might as well. Did you recognize the patch?
I didn't.
Oh, patch
but-
44, the Air of Light patch.
Oh yeah. Now that you mention it.
Yeah. It's this kind of like iconic patch in one of the songs that we play, so I was like, I'm gonna get that patch involved in things.
Nice.
So a lot of the motivation initially was like, let me just use this keyboard, which is something we talk about too as like this interesting, like we've talked about this in the past, how sometimes like when you ask somebody like where a song came from, you know, like sometimes they'll have this like really deep, like, you know, understanding of like where they came from and what they created, you know, but a lot of times it's like I had this cool piece of gear it was lying around and it sounded cool to me, so it's like I made this thing with it. So I started with that, and then it kind of just made some sense to just put on a little bit more of a electronic-y vibe beat thing. And yeah, I love making all kinds of music like that. So
when you've written all of these lyrics and you say, oh, I have no idea what it was about, it was stream of conscious, do you go back and kind of like do a deeper dive and like kind of try to interpret it a little bit? I
have some ideas. I mean, I could probably figure out like what I was thinking about some of it. Yeah. The
second half is pretty like, it's a little self-deprecating.
Is it?
Yeah.
You're giving up when it isn't ever misinterpreted. Yeah. Well, I think, I meant it to be, I think just the culture we live in right now is people are resigned to a certain culture, and there's not a lot of hope, you know, that like you can self-actualize and like be the person that you want to be. So I think that's kind of what that's about. I think I'm probably not speaking about myself so much as I'm speaking about like a cultural attitude. I thought
that though.
Yeah.
Because
I do say your.
I know, but I do that too. I talk about myself a lot.
I know.
It's always interchangeable.
Exactly. Right. Yeah, totally. Yeah. The inner part, it's probably also partially speaking to kind of like the inner part of me, the insecurity to step out and like be the person that I want to be. But I think that's, what kind of that initial line is, you got a seed, you know, you have these ideas of like what to do with your life, and the only way to really find out what they look like when they grow is by planting them. And you know, I think the beginning part, like finding a community of people around you that are gonna like water those seeds, you know.
I think it makes total sense.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks for listening. You want to share your song?
Yeah.
Anything you want to tell us before we have a listen?
So I too got some outside help this week. Spent my personal life's been a little hectic lately, and I knew I wouldn't have the time to write lyrics, so I asked my mother, who lives out in the forest.
Cute.
In southern Oregon, the Siskiyou Forest, and she's one of those people who can just, if you go on a hike, she'll know every plant name, every property. She's just like green thumb gardening person, and she's been working on writing a screenplay lately, so she's getting all into writing, and that's inspiring. So I thought she's a good person to hit up. So I just asked her to write a poem about botanicals or woods or trees or any kind of plant life.
Yeah.
And I wanted it by the next morning when I said that, but she gets up really early, so I knew she gave her till 11 or something. And she obliged, and she came up with a great forest poem. And the only suggestion I gave to her besides botanical was Mingus era Joni Mitchell. So,
I love it.
And that, you can start from there, and it's like not where it ended up.
Right.
But that's where it started.
Just the inspiration.
And then I got a text from a friend of the show, Pony, who ended up coming over and playing bass on it, which was great.
Nice.
Awesome. So,
and it's called
The Madrone Forest. In the silence of the forest, in the tall green canopy, unspoken thoughts were spoken in ancient reverie, with over leaves that shimmer, red bark that peels and frays, or limbs twist ever upward to find the sun's hot rays. Oh, secret is well hidden beneath the sodden loam. Oh, roots that together we are bound. Our roots are interwoven, connected panoply, and survival we're united in timeless reverie. Our secret is well hidden beneath the sod and loam. Our roots dive deeply downward to find a watery
Yeah.
Oh, that's just so sweet.
I love it.
Thank you.
It's interesting how you can take facts about a thing and then they can so easily become metaphor, you know, like just putting words behind it just like creates meaning in a certain way that is goes beyond the fact. So your mom, so you got the words from your mom.
Mm-hmm.
Mom's
Yeah,
got
so I don't
plant vocabulary in her.
She really does.
Her
Yeah,
sleeve.
she really knocked it out of the park.
She did, and I didn't have to change anything. I flipped, I think, 2 words that were next to each other.
Ever upward.
Yes, that's all I did. I upward ever or ever upward or something. So besides that, it came together really easily. The phrasing was, I mean, she just gave me like a finished poem.
Yeah.
So it was very, you know, I don't know the meaning behind all of it. You'd have to ask Cynthia Cooper for that. But it came together really quickly once I had the lyrics, and I have an acoustic tenor guitar, so just a 4-string guitar, and someone mysteriously left it in a weird tuning. They left it in an open B flat tuning.
Changed your life.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that because it's really unique. The chords are really unique sounding.
Yeah, it's like, I guess, lower than you would tune a tenor, and I haven't been able to figure out who. This has just been a mystery here for a long time. Who left it in B flat?
Like it's been years at this point, right?
It's been like at
this
least a year.
New wave of tenor guitar playing.
I've just left it in that tuning because it's so fun. You just play an open chord and it already sounds really good. And
Yeah.
so that's, you were talking about earlier, just putting your fingers on the fretboard and just kind of feeling it out that way. And that's what I do with the tenor. I'll even play shapes from another tuning and just see what chord that gets you. You know, so a lot of it is experimentation, and I do use drones a lot. So that kind of naturally glues things together when you have drone strings ringing out. But it was like instantaneous. I had the lyrics in front of me, and I just put like literally the first chords I played was how the song went. There was maybe 1 or 2 little, does it go there? Ouch, no, it doesn't go there. I mean, I wish I would have actually recorded it on a voice memo now, because it was like
the ouch chords.
Really, yeah, it just was really quick. It was just instant, and the melody was just there.
Yeah.
So
Get a little jazzy in the chorus.
yeah, well, I had that kind of going for Joni Mitchell thing, so I don't know if that came across at all in the end result, but that just pretty kind of jazzy.
Oh yeah, for sure.
In the end of the chorus, that little with the bass, that the way that line happens with "to find a watery home" was really cool.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. I like to make it a little bit complicated for Pony. You know, he's a great player, and I like to stretch his skills too. So yeah, there's a little bit of interesting time signature stuff at the end, and or I guess on the instrumental part at the beginning too. And that solo was a bass through my little
that was
tiny.
bass?
It was a bass solo, yeah, through a tiny little Black Star amp. Please sponsor us, Black Star. We love your little tiny amps. It's so cute.
You're pretty obsessed with it.
I am, and I'm lazy too, so you can just plug anything in there. So, and I gave him like, I don't know, 20 minutes or something, because I was just tired, and I was like, okay, all right, so you got 20 minutes, you got to do some bass solos here, here, and here, and I know he can do it.
Yeah.
And I don't know that he felt it was finished, but I told him I would put electric tenor lead over it, and I basically promised him that I would fill it out, and then I didn't touch it at all. I just left it exactly how it was. So
Prank.
but that's what this show is, it's like exactly a moment in time of exactly what a demo was,
Right.
what condition it was in.
What condition my demo was in?
Yeah.
Is your mom a poet regularly?
No, not necessarily. She's a letter writer.
Oh.
So she writes letters, like really thoughtful letters to, her old friends, like friends from high school and college even. She has just a few people she writes letters to. And that's been her main outlet for writing. But she's working. We've
That's
been
awesome.
working together on
I feel like it's a dying thing. Right?
writing
I mean,
letters.
not just letters, but like to people in that way. Like I don't know. That's how I developed my writing style. Like as a kid, like writing emails to people. And I would labor over them, like take 2 hours to write somebody an email or something like that. But I don't feel like people want to do that anymore. Do you know what I mean? Maybe just the people that I know have less time on their hands or something like that, or I don't know what it is, but I don't get the impression people are corresponding in that way.
They just want the info, nothing else.
Right.
And then they'll send K back.
Yeah, period. Okay.
But maybe it's because because of social media and that kind of stuff, where it's like you feel like you don't need like the big life update in the same way as maybe in the past it was applicable. I don't know, but for myself, like that was a huge part of the way that I developed my writing, was through like thoughtfully trying to communicate to people.
Yeah.
Well, she did write one children's book when my brother and I were young, and she got help from my dad, I think, with writing the prose, and it had some poetry in it. It was called Hazel the Witch. It was my favorite book, and it was just like the one mock-up that existed of the photocopied, hand-drawn pages. Yeah, it was about a witch who didn't know if she was a good witch or a bad witch, and there's a big ball at the end where they all do spells, and she still can't tell which side she's on. Spoiler, she's a good witch at the end. But yes, she has done some writing, but her career was graphic designer.
It's such a sweet story.
It is.
I
mean,
love it.
Her favorite thing is to just be out in the woods. Well, she loves making rock walls. So she'll just be out there all day making rock walls, taking hikes out with the dogs, and gardening. And she has like a prehistoric looking forest of a garden. Just like even the tomato, like everything's towering over you. There's these giant,
like growing the way they actually grow.
I guess so. I guess
Right.
that's what happens. Yeah. And she'll grow things from seed, and I've always been impressed by her gardens, and I just knew like this was right within her scope of what she would feel, I think, comfortable and easily write about. So I she's never done anything like this before, but I just knew she would be able to do it.
Yeah.
So
It's just
hi, Mom, if you're listening.
So cute.
I'm gonna hit her up again. Obviously, now that I know,
Yeah.
I need some lyric stat.
Yeah, I think maybe you guys should do a little
Collab.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we are working, what originally started as another children's book called Tinyfoot that we had been bouncing around for years, but then she wanted to take it into a screenplay direction for like a big blockbuster sci-fi movie. So she's just been using that project to keep her mind occupied, because she lives in the woods, So she and her husband Chris they have some neighbors that they enjoy, but it's a drive out of town, and she needs something to do to stay interested besides making rock walls. So she's been working on that for a while.
Hmm.
It's like Bigfoot, but tiny foot.
Yeah.
I love it.
Just from, whatever the 8 weeks we've been doing this, it's so nice to have a project like this where it's like, yeah, it really does make my music creation or the music I create for this so much less precious than like I normally have treated music in the past, where it's like, yeah, I'm going to try this idea. I'm just going to ask a person to help me out with this thing or whatever, like, although I haven't done that yet.
Oh, it's nice.
Yeah, you've
It's
been
just
utilizing
like,
that a lot.
Ooh.
Yeah. And
Especially with
collaboration
the
in a way that
lyrics,
doesn't,
too.
right, like doesn't feel too, like it needs to be too heavily invested in this thing of like, we're creating our passion project that
Yeah.
like needs to be the most important thing that I ever made. Yeah, it's nice to just be able to try things out. And it makes me realize like, oh yeah, that's obviously just available to everybody all the time. Like you just have to let yourself do the thing rather than be like critical of whether or not it's a good decision to do it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just having a nice excuse to work with people on projects, on songs, and just allot the space for yourself every week to write.
Yeah.
It's really nice. So I don't have a demo of an early form of the idea because it just was instantaneous. I just took it downstairs and recorded it immediately. But lately I'm really into tiny cymbals. And so the entire percussion for that song was just two different tiny cymbals,
I
like
love
a little
that.
splash and a little China splash,
Mm-hmm.
which Victor picked up from the sale at a beloved Portland institution that is no more, Type Foundry recording studio.
Oh.
So we loved Type Foundry, and just got some interesting symbols from them. So that was the whole beat. I've been really experimenting with not putting an entire drum beat on songs, just like what's enough? That's my question lately. Like what's enough percussion?
And was that on there before Pony played?
5 minutes before he got here, I was like, oh, hey, this
Good
can be
little
the beat.
Rhythm.
Two tiny cymbals.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was all. Just
Cool.
wanted to share my current favorite tiny cymbals.
Yeah. The
And
master of tiny
I
cymbals.
play them with tiny sticks too, instead of like, because the room in here hasn't really been treated too much. So
What do you mean tiny sticks?
Like chopsticks?
I mean, like the other side of a mallet, just a little
Oh.
plastic thing, or they have these acoustic multi-rods that are like, it looks like a bunch of barbecue skewers all taped together, kind of, so things like that. So I've been
Not actual sticks.
no, not like sticks from outside in the yard or something, but I would, and it might
Yeah.
have a nice soft sound.
Or chopsticks. That's a good idea.
Yeah, wooden spoon, anything like that. So because I'm working in a room that isn't naturally sounding the best for loud sounds, I get a lot of like destructive reverb, There's something called standing waves that the formula of the shape of this room makes.
Oh. Yeah.
So
Like you're saying like audio information that kind of gets in the way.
it's unintended.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like weird echoes, little slapbacks.
So to combat that, you
I play quietly.
and really closely mic'd.
Yeah. So it's partly the room I'm recording in that determines that that's the song that I made instead of some thrashy.
Well,
big-
also Jocko Joni Mitchell.
Yeah, and Mingus.
Yeah. Oh,
like,
Mingus,
Mingus
right.
was more the era. But yeah, that was the influence too. So it already had an idea that it didn't need a big bombastic drum set to get it done.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
yeah, that's it.
Well, great song.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, great song.
Thanks again, Mom.
Thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Mom.
And thanks to your mom too for that guitar, right?
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
I
Thanks,
love
Mom.
hearing it, knowing that was recorded on this sweet gift of like your first guitar
Yeah.
ever. It's just it
Yeah.
just seems so like pure, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I write almost every song on that guitar.
I'm so,
So it's-
sentimental about instruments like that. Like there's something about it that feels good to write with an instrument that, even though it's like there's a part of me that recognizes that the value that I'm attributing is arbitrary. There's something that feels meaningful and like inspiring when I have an instrument that feels connected to something, else in the world, rather than just being like, this is a cool instrument.
Yeah. I don't think much about her when I'm playing it, but
Right.
but I just like the way the classical guitar sounds.
Yeah. Well, next week we got to find what we're going to write about next week.
Yeah.
You got any ideas for us, Kelly?
Do you want me to give you a
Yes.
we
prompt?
do like
We would
to have
love
the guests
to have you give
pick
us a
out a
prompt.
prompt for the next guest.
Okay.
Yeah. If anything just jumps into your mind, like
Yeah.
small or big or anything at all.
Just take a deep breath here. Singularity?
Oh,
Ooh, fun.
that's right up our alley. I feel like.
Yes. I hear the arpeggio already.
Okay.
You already have like. Oh, maybe this is time for.
Here like comes some robotic thing.
What about
Zorp.
part 2 of Stowaway?
Oh right, yeah, my little.
I mean, you kind of already have a
sci-fi
singularity type.
We have.
Is it too much up your alley? Should we do something different?
No, it's
Oh, okay.
it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
because singularity can also just be the meaning of the word beyond the.
Yeah, maybe I'll come in next week and I'll just
Yeah.
have like a synthesizer installed in my body.
Yeah. Please don't do that. Or do.
Yeah.
Actually, it would be amazing.
It would be pretty cool.
No, I think
Thanks.
it's a great theme.
perfect.
Yeah, because it could be about transhumanism
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
and
Yeah.
integration AI with humans and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
or it could just be something being singular.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks
Sure.
for being here. It was a lovely song that you wrote and really stoked on how everything came.
Yeah, thank you. I think your guys' songs were excellent.
And for anybody listening out there, if they want to share their songs with us, you can email us at honestjamspodcast@gmail.com. Give us some facts about singularity. Yeah, give us facts about anything that you want to give us facts about, or just, talk with us. We're lonely people. Send Kelly stuff too, like who cares?
Okay. Send me stuff.
Tell her the singularity is not.
All right. Well, from Honest Jam Studio, let me just say,
We can bang on pots and pans.
And still kick out some honest jams.
Honest Jams podcast is written, recorded, and produced by A. Walker Spring and Ayala Alvis, and edited by me. Special thanks to Victor Nash for mixing our theme. Special thanks to Oogie. And thank you for listening. We can't wait to hear what you make.